This year, already, around 30 parishes were hit by a cyber attack. This particular one began around Christmas time and spread to different government agencies around the nation. Dozens of parishes in Louisiana have reported attacks in their clerk of court offices. I spoke with Carlo McDonald, an IT expert, and he told us all about these hacks and other things about cybersecurity in Louisiana. So first, let's talk about the amount of time it took for this particular breach to get going. It started somewhere around Christmas time, and then after the New Year's, whenever agencies in Louisiana started to notice that there was a problem.
Right.
Is this a normal amount of time for a cybersecurity hack?
Yes, typically, especially ransomware attacks, the hackers will get into the network and take their time learning about the network, where all the critical data is at, where is the confidential information. Once they learn that, and it could take a month, I've seen 5-6 months of them in a network. And once that they know where that's at, they'll then start the ransomware attack, which starts encrypting everything, and that's when you start seeing things go on. So I don't know all the details on the hack, but I'm gonna guess that they were in there probably for a little while, and then after that, initiated the ransomware.
So there's no way to detect when these people are in there whenever they're just learning about this information?
Yeah, there is. If you put security software into your network, more than the standard stuff, there's EDR, which is endpoint detection and response software that you should have on all your systems. You should have a cyber operations center kind of watching. And I know that the small, mid-sized companies are probably going, well, that's too expensive. But no, that we've gotten those costs down so that any business really can afford to have somebody keeping an eye on things. And you should be looking. Those security individuals are going to be looking at things on your network to see if those anomalies are happening and then stop it before it gets out of hand.
So in Louisiana, I mean, it seems like we've been hearing a lot about cybersecurity attacks for, I want to say, about 4 years, since 2019 when they had that big breach at the DMV.
Right.
Is Louisiana a common place for cybersecurity attacks? Are we up to date?
No, Louisiana's not alone. Really, we saw a big rash of ransomware attacks about 3-4 years ago. Louisiana, the government saw a lot of that as well. And I think it kind of woke everybody up to upgrade your systems, your software, your hardware. We tend to think that if it's not broke, don't fix it, let it run. But you really have to keep equipment up to date every 3 to 5 years. Look at that, talk to your IT group, and get those things upgraded. And I think people have learned from that, so we're seeing less and less of that type of ransomware attack. But we're seeing more of stealing your data type of attacks. And we can talk about that in a little bit. I'll give you more details on that.
I know, I want to hear the details now. I mean, it seems like you can't afford to wait around until these cyber attacks happen. I mean, what are the new methods that they're using?
So because people have learned about ransomware attacks and they've been upgrading their equipment and their software, and they're doing backups off-site into the cloud. So they feel like, well, if I get ransomware attacked, I can just go ahead and restore my data and tell the hacker or the bad actor that, hey, I'm not paying you. The problem with that today is with ransomware attacks, if your stuff gets encrypted, by that time, they've already taken most of your data off your network. And the reason behind that is because they lost that leverage they used to have when you didn't have any backups. So now they have leverage with your data. So they're going to tell you, oh, you're not going to pay? Well, I'm going to release all your public information or your information out to the dark web. And that's a scary thought for some of the stuff like banks, hospitals, clerk of courts. These are lots of private information on these types of networks that they know if they can get that they have leverage on you.
Right. And I mean, I think it's important to remember that these are real people. It's not just a computer that's going around hacking people.
That's
so
right.
That means that as we're learning how to protect ourselves, they're learning how to attack us.
Oh yeah, it's a never ending change. And there's a lot of people used to have their emails hacked. And so your IT guy said, oh, you need to have multi-factor authentication put on it, where you get a code to your phone that says who you are, right?
Yes.
Everybody has that today. Guess what? They've worked around that. And in January, this year, we've seen some of our customers where that's happened, and it starts with a phishing email that you enter your email address and your password, and then the hacker actually watches that process, and they can take that information and bypass that multi-factor authentication process where it goes to your phone. So they can just log in with your email address and password again. Yeah,
this is terrifying.
But there are ways to protect against that, and I mentioned earlier the EDR software, having a security group watching your network and watching your users. Unfortunately, we can protect against the network side, but a user is going to answer that phishing email. They're going to click on that link, and you try to train everybody not to do that through phishing training and phishing exercises. But at the end of the day, you still have that one user that gives that information out, and unfortunately, that's how they'll get in.
Right, so it just seems like this is kind of an inevitable part of life with technology at this point.
Yeah, there really isn't any way around not having somebody watching your systems 24/7 for security issues. The cost it's cost effective now. Prices come down considerably. Big corporations aren't the only ones that can have a security operations center, and everybody really needs to look at that. And if you're a smaller company, maybe you have 5 employees, there's still things that you can load and have people watch your stuff, and that's the EDR software I mentioned, endpoint detection and response. They actually have a level above that, which actually has those security engineers watching your computer. So if you do accidentally go to that phishing page, they'll get an alert, and you'll get an email, hey, we noticed you went to this site, and then that'll stop them from getting in. So there's definitely things you can do.
So the bottom line is just to make sure that you keep all of your security systems up to date, and as the technology advances, you need to be advancing too.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in and
Thank
talking
you.
with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.